consider myself a slightly above average book enthusiast. On a scale of like not picking up a book since middle school to reading 200 books a year, I'd say I fall at like a 7.5. I love to read. I've always loved to read. I got heavily into it during quarantine, like I feel like we all did. Misa's joining. Hi. And since repicking up the hobby of reading, I've read a lot of books and a lot of good ones. So that's what I'm here to discuss today. These books are pretty much ones that just have embedded themselves into my mind and soul. The minute I finished them, I wanted to reread them again, and I just knew I would never forget them. They're all 5 out of 5 stars in my opinion. You know, obviously not everyone's going to agree because we like different book types, but I'm also an avid rereader. I reread the same books, I rewatch the same shows, the same movies, listen to the same songs. So like all of these I've read, I think, at least twice. Some of them more. So if you're ready for the opinions and book recommendations of a slightly above average reader that just likes to read for fun, then here you go. This is the video for you. I might go in order, I might not. However, we're starting with a classic. This is Pride and Prejudice. I love this book so much and I don't know why. I was a little intimidated by the classics, but I really wanted to like get into them when I started reading. So I'm like, I can't just read all modern literature. I've read Pride and Prejudice like 3 times. It's one of the books I have annotated. And the thing about this book is it's funny. It's really funny. Now I know some people are like intimidated by like older style books because they speak differently and it's kind of hard maybe to comprehend what they're saying all the time, but once you get it, you get it. Aside from this obviously being one of the greatest enemy to lover stories ever and the letter, it is funny. There's so much commentary in here that just makes me laugh out loud. But yeah, this I can and have read over and over, and then it's even better when you watch the 2005 movie of it and that becomes one of your favorite comfort films. I have to mention this second because I just like need to talk about it. The Secret History. Again, kind of a more modern classic. If you've been on Book Talk at all, you have heard of this book. I finished this book and immediately was like, this is one of the best books I've ever read, and I read it about a year ago and I still think about it at least once a week. Like, this book has a chokehold over me. It has all of my favorite things: dark academia, some Greek mythology, very intense elaborate characters, and kind of like mystery. I've only read this once. I did read it in like 2 days, but I plan to reread it and go through and annotate it. Like, I kid you not, I think about this book all the time and I just cannot wait to reread it. I've been like trying to read other books first so I don't keep rereading the same things. But yeah, Secret History, one of my favorites. Obviously, these are all my favorites. Okay. This book, I don't even know how to explain Bunny. What I can say is this is one of the craziest reading experiences I've ever had, and that's why it's one of my favorites, because it left such a lasting impression on me. Pretty much when I was reading it, I felt like I was in a fever dream. Like, I didn't know if the plot was like all realistic or if they were like hallucinating, if I was hallucinating, if things were actually happening. And it goes in and out of like this reality and almost fantasy, which again, you can't really determine if it's actually happening or not because it's so ridiculous, but everyone is like so convinced that it's happening. I feel like that's all I can say without giving it away. You just need to read it. Again, it is a crazy ride. I finished it, I put it down, and I was like, what the hell did I just read? This is another one I want to go back and reread and probably annotate. But yeah, it's kind of a shorter book, so if you want something kind of quick to get you into reading, this is good. I can't recommend it enough. Again, it felt like I was in a fever dream while reading it. That's how good the writing was, and I've never really had that experience before. We got a little of a genre change here. These are like my all-time favorite books, and I have read this one at least like 7 times. These are the You Are a Badass books by Jen Sincero. You Are a Badass and You Are a Badass at Making Money. They're kind of like self-help books. I've always read self-help books because I've always needed help. And I just like this one because it's very simple, and the way that she speaks is very casual and like you're talking to a friend, but it still like keeps you engaged. I just love her style of writing. So she gives anecdotes about her own life and then ties it into like the lessons and the things that you can do to help yourself. And what I like most about it is it pretty much explains manifestation and positive thinking without outright saying this book's about manifestation. It's like thinking and believing and being what you want first before it coming true, and then it will come true. And I feel like reading this could like introduce you to manifestation or like someone else. Misa's playing with her toy without it feeling like woo-woo magical in your face, and it's just so good. And then same with this one, even though it's about making money, You Are a Badass at Making Money, I honestly find some of the like advice and stories in here even better than the first one. Something about this is just, again, written so well that it actually does inspire me. And yeah, it's about money, but you can read this and it's still just apply to anything in your life. So I read these at least once a year. Whenever I need to pick me up or like I'm feeling behind or stuck in my head, I just pick one of these up, and I've highlighted and annotated these as well, so sometimes I'll just go through and look at the things that I highlighted as like quick little snippets and reminders. We got this book, The Secret Life of Addie LaRue. This is one of the first books that I read when I was getting into my quarantine reading phase. I don't want to stop Miso from playing, so just ignore the little tinkling bells and stuff, but I really like this book. It's funny because my best friend doesn't like this book. I don't even think she finished it, and I feel like it's like kind of like that with most people. They either love it or they're like, eh, it's fine. I just love the story writing of it. I love the journey it took you on, and it's like a very unique plot line. It's not something I've really seen before. Like, yes, maybe it would be like a little predictable at some points, but I still liked the plot line because it wasn't like anything I've read before. I can't really compare it to any of my other books. It's like a little bit magical but still realistic, and I like all the details of all like the different time periods she goes into, and she really just like paints a good picture of what is happening during this time period, during this setting. This is one I've read through twice and I have annotated, and there's some really good like quotes and stuff in here that I love. And I also just really like the main character Addie because she is just a girl trying to find her place in the world, and I feel like it resonates a lot with a lot of things that like I think and feel. So yeah, Secret Life of Addie LaRue, I really like this one. This is just like, oh, I'm always gonna read it and I'm always gonna like it. Gone Girl. This book is so good. If you've seen the movie, it's great too. But like the first time reading this, knowing nothing about it, and then just like getting through the plot and seeing how it ends, like it really did throw me for a loop. Sometimes I'm really dumb and can't predict the endings because I just like absorb myself into the book. I kind of try to like push my predictions aside. It's just another one of those crazy, this is more of like a mystery, a little bit of a thriller. It is just so good. Absolutely living for the manipulative gaslighting girl boss that is Amy Dunn. Like, good for her. Like, she's insufferable in a good way, like as her character is written. Nick is insufferable and like he's just a man. When he smiles at the missing poster, come on, man. Yeah, again, read this twice, 3 times, I don't know. Another one with a really good movie you can watch afterwards too. Okay, one book that I don't have because I borrowed it from my friend when I read it, but I am gonna buy my own copy of it, is A Little Life. If you know anything about this book, it's a lot. If you don't know anything, I do not recommend it if you cannot handle like triggering situations, heavy topics, stuff like that, which I probably shouldn't have read it. But I did. I put myself through the pain of it, but it's still like one of the best books I've ever read just for the pure emotional reactions that I had during reading it. It made me cry like 3-4 different times reading the book, and it was like I'm crying while reading a book. I'm not even like watching a movie. It's just things I'm seeing in my head and reading. It is just an extremely vulnerable and deep look into the not great sides of life. The struggles, the traumas, the pain, and again, like it's not something you think you would want to subject yourself to reading because it's a sad as fuck book. I just like how it made me feel something. And there were parts I like resonated with, the parts of like mental health and depression and anxiety, and I just always love reading books that explain that and capture that so well because it makes me feel less alone in my feelings. I'm like, someone actually wrote this down, got it published, and other people are reading it, and it's how I feel. Like someone else out there feels like I feel. But yeah, again, this is one of the books I read and immediately wanted to reread it, even though I was crying my eyes out by the time I closed the final page. So I was like, this is one of the most roller coaster books I've ever been on, but it made me feel so much. Again, I'm just reiterating a bit of a warning if you're going into it. Look into trigger warnings and stuff. It is definitely not for everyone. Another popular book talk book that you've no doubt seen or read yourself, Song of Achilles. This is just like a perfect book. It's another one I've read twice and annotated. I love Greek mythology, and this is just like gold to me. It is so beautiful and so tragic, but like the beauty and the tragedy just like balance each other out. You can't help but love the two characters, and it's just so beautifully written. The amount of quotes I have highlighted and underlined in here because I'm just like, wow, how did you even put that string of words together to make it sound so beautiful? The love between the characters and the fact that it's like a queer love is just, I have no words. I have no, like, it's just so freaking beautiful. Another book that made me cry at the end of reading it. I don't want to admit that I cry a lot of books, but I do. Matcha break, hold on. I'm currently in the process of rereading Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This is more of like a memoir, not quite self-help book, but just relatable situational book. Like, it's not fiction. And this book is literally perfect for any girl in her 20s, 30s, even teens. It's just, the way she writes is like listening to a friend. It's like reading through your own journal. At least that's how I've experienced it. And what I love about it is that the focus is on like female friendships. I'm not like a very romantic person. I honestly don't really like romance books. I'm not like in my life a romantic relationship person. A little bit of romance sprinkled in here and there, but I don't like romance books, but I love friendships. There's nothing more I value in my life than my friendships, especially my female friendships, and this just goes so well into it. And it also goes into her experience of having a best friend and a female friendship, and then that friend ends up getting in a relationship, and kind of the experience of wanting to be happy for your friend and loving and supporting them, but also feeling like you're kind of now on the sideline, you have to be shared. And she's just like a crazy lost 20-year-old making bad decisions and then learning as she goes, and it makes you feel Heard. Alright guys, we're down to the final two. Like I said, there's definitely more books that I could rate like 5 out of 5 stars and that are really great books, but these are the ones that have just like had lasting impressions on me and that I will like forever think about and just want to reread again and again. A Court of Mist and Fury. Alright, so I actually did not like the first book in the series at all. I wasn't going to continue reading it, but everyone was like, the first book you have to get through and then you have to read the other ones, it gets better. And I put faith in it and it paid off. The first book is A Court of Thorns and Roses. It was so slow, it was drawn out, the only action like happened at the end. I hated Tamlin and like I just didn't like it. The first couple chapters like feel like it's really gonna be like dramatic and draw you in and have that fantasy aspect, but then it just felt really drawn out like the whole book. And then we get to this one. This is another book that made me cry while I'm reading it. The characters I'm in love with. I am in love with characters so much. I don't know how you couldn't be. Yes, some things are predictable. Yes, there's some basic tropes in there. Dark-haired, gloomy man that does everything to protect his love and will fight anyone who will even look at her. Clueless heroine that turns into the one that saves everyone and has the most powers. You get the gist, you know? But sometimes you need one of those basic tropes just to fill that need. And I really like the world building in it. My personal favorite, I didn't even mention what my favorite like type of book is. I love like fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian books, so this is leaning more fantasy because I like going to other worlds when I'm reading. Like I kind of want to escape my reality and like feel something, learn something, think something new. So I do really enjoy the world building in this and then all the characters and their like powers and stuff like that. I think it's well written in that aspect because I do have like a very good visual of what I think the world is like. So that means it's like good writing that I can like think I clearly visualize it. But yeah, this is definitely the best one out of the series. The next one, I forget what, Wings and Ruin is the next one. That one was pretty good, but it didn't have as much as an impact as this one did on me. I also hated though in that series, A Court of Frost and Starlight. I hated that book. I can't give the whole series like a 5 out of 5. Just this one book is like the best. All right, this is my final favorite book series of all time. I want you to think right now what it could be. I don't think you're gonna get it. No, it's not Harry Potter, even though I love Harry Potter. The Lightning Thief. This is literally my favorite book series of all time. I've read it 3-4 times. I obviously read it when I was like in middle school and I still love it just as much. Issa was eating the corner of it. Look at that. Mr. Rick Riordan here. He's what got me into my Greek mythology obsession, so I have everything to thank to him. Perfect characters, perfect plotline, funny, kind of sad, minor romance that doesn't like really take away from the story, and just like, oh, all the characters get introduced, I love. And yes, it's like a younger YA type of book. It's not really meant for 20-year-olds, but I don't care. I will die for this book and this series. And then equally as important to me is this series that kind of follows it, which is, oh, you can't even see, the Heroes of Olympus series, which continues on with Percy Jackson characters, but then adds new characters, and it's the Roman version of Greek mythology. I have never had more of an emotional connection to any characters in my life. I want all of them to be real. I want to be friends with them, and I just want to be part of their adventure squad. I have no complaints about this book, about the writing, about the plot, about anything. This is just like the all-time favorite comfort series and books for me. I don't even know how much to explain it. Honestly, anything Rick Riordan has written, I love. He has like other series too. And I cannot wait until the live action Percy Jackson TV series comes out because we were scammed with those movies. That is another very strong opinion I have. This could have been Harry Potter level franchise if they did better movies, and I'm still angry about it to this day. So I'm really excited to see how the TV series turns out. But yeah, I truly thought of myself as Annabeth when I was a kid. I would like play outside and pretend like my sticks were daggers and stuff, and that I was just, you know, part of the Athena household. I dead ass have a tattoo of Athena because that's how much this book has impacted me, got me into Greek mythology, and I truly feel like if I were a demigod, I would be in the Athena household. If you don't know anything about that, it's the goddess of like war, strategy, knowledge, crafts, art. Come on guys, that's me, come on. I'm very sorry about the noise in the background from Miso, but she's gotta do her thing. I don't even know how I forgot to mention the Hunger Games series, but I feel like that's a given. That should be on everyone's favorite book list. It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, modern series of all time, and I don't want to hear any arguments against it. Again, I'm not even going to explain it. It's the Hunger Games. Also one of the best movie franchises. And I wanted to make some other honorable mentions that are still like 5 out of 5 books that still impacted me. For some reason, they're just like a degree below how much these other ones impacted me, but I still give them like a 99.999% of my love and affection. Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. That woman, Daisy Jones and the Six, and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo I did cry at both of those at the end. My favorite book for the longest time growing up throughout middle school and high school was Paper Towns by John Green. I mean, reading it now, it's a different experience, but that book was the love of my life as a little teenager. Another classic that I loved was Jane Eyre. That was a really, really, really good book. Not at all what I was expecting from it. I didn't really know the plot line or anything about it going into it. Harry Potter series, of course, duh. And any of those like 2016 dystopian books. I already mentioned Hunger Games, we got Maze Runner, we got Divergent, all of those, like, those are like my favorite type of genre of books. Because I just really wanted to be someone who saved the dystopian futuristic world as a child, and I still do. I wouldn't quite mind an apocalypse if it meant I could be the hero of it. Okay, yeah, those are my other honorable mentions. But yeah, alright, these are obviously my favorite books. A lot of them are basic. A lot of them I've gotten off of Book Talk. Yes, I admit that. I am a self-proclaimed basic bitch, and I am proud of that. So you've probably seen them before, you've probably read some of them yourself, you probably have different opinions, or the same opinions. Doesn't really matter. I love these books. Like I said, I've read most of them twice, more than that, and I'm gonna keep rereading them. It's a bad habit because I have so many books that I buy and want to read, but then I just like keep going back and rereading my favorite ones. But I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a little bit different, but I feel very happy that I got to like discuss my favorite books with y'all. So definitely like let me know what your favorite books are. We can have a whole discussion in the comments. Like, come on, this will be fun. We're now part of the book club. But yes, okay, have a wonderful day, guys, and I will see you next video.